Hey everybody, we're back for another week. We got something cool in store. Taking little Debbie out for the first time this year. We're super excited.
We got Laramie groomed yesterday, so this is his first camping trip.
Yeah, we got his hair did and his nails did and all that, so he's ready to rock and roll. We're going to someplace really cool. Stay tuned and we'll tell you about it. Alright guys, we're well on our way here. I thought while we're on our drive up here, Lammy looks pretty good right there, don't he?
Yes, he does.
We got him a new seat so he can sit on the console so he can see out the windows better. And then that way he's not having to ride in somebody's lap or in the back seat, which this time we got the back seat folded up. So, but anyways, we shot a video a while back showing where we installed the WaySafe weight distribution hitch, and had high hopes for it. Had watched some other YouTubers that had tried out many, probably 6 or 8 different hitches, and the WaySafe one was rated like number 2. Obviously the Hensley or the Pro Pride was rated number 1, always is, but of course it's super expensive. And so we decided to try the WaySafe before we went to the Hensley to try to get rid of our rear sway out of our camper. And we took it, we went to Disney World with it, took it all the way to Florida. We've made several other trips with it, and just to be honest, I'm not as happy with it as I thought I'd be. You know, it did help with the porpoising some, which is when you go over a bump, it wants to bounce. It did reduce that a significant amount, but it did not get rid of our rear sway.
Well, we still have a ton of sway going on back there.
Yeah, so we're still trying to figure that out. I know people's offered suggestions. Actually, where we're going today and this weekend, there are actually going to be some people up there where we can actually weigh the trailer, weigh the truck, see the weight distribution on it, and I'm hoping that may provide some answers too. It's something we've been wanting to do for a long time. When I pass a cat scale, I never think about stopping. So not as good as KYD. They stop at every cat scale, I think. But anyways, so you know, the WaySafe is not a cheap one. There's definitely other ones out there that are a lot cheaper, and I just didn't see any significant improvement over the one I used to have, which was the weight distribution bars with the chains.
Well, and we had high hopes for it. I mean, we really did. We thought everything looked perfect. We got all of our weight distributed properly. All of our numbers looked great. And we just knew it was going to fix it. And so when we took off on that first trip with the WaySafe and we still had the sway, it was really disappointing.
Yeah. And like I say, the main places I get sway is on the interstate. You know, traveling back roads, I never get high enough speed that it's an issue. And even then, even on the interstate, you know, we get the truck suck, which I know everybody gets, and you know, there's probably no eliminating that completely. But it's just when we get above 65 miles an hour and we're out on the interstate, the rear end wants to wiggle. The rear end of the camper, that is.
Yeah, not mine.
And so, again, we was hoping it'd help that, and we just didn't see any significant improvement. And for the price we paid, I mean, that system is right at about $1,000. Now, we did have a coupon that we used from the other YouTuber at the time that was doing the reviews, and that did save us about $200, so we did get a good buy on it. But it just didn't do what we wanted to do. So if we don't get some answers up here this weekend, after we weigh the truck and trailer and everything, we will probably end up investing in the Pro Pride. You know, short of that, it's either changing trucks, which I really don't want to do, or changing campers, which I really want to do. So anyways, I just want to give you a quick update on that, and just kind of let you know what our opinion was on it. Again, it's just my opinion. Other people, it may work great.
Well, and there's a lot of people who have had great success with the WaySafe.
Yes.
It just did not solve the issue we were trying to solve.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and my biggest complaint is the camper that we had before this one, we had it 4.5 years, and it was a much bigger, much heavier camper. And we didn't have any issues with that. The truck never had any issues towing that one. And so I'm not quite sure why when we scaled down in camper size that we're now having the problem. But again, just a real quick update on that. We had promised that for a while. I just wanted to get some experience. I wanted to have several tows, several long trips under our belt before I actually made any comments about it. So stay tuned. We'll be at our destination soon. We'll tell you what we're getting into this weekend.
Standing in my own belief, swinging from the willow tree. Sun is shining, spotlight over me. Bet you I'm the only one to see what's really going on beneath. Feels like starting over until it's over.
Hey everybody, we have finally made it to our destination.
Yay!
We are up here at Sun Outdoors in Sevierville, which is just right, I mean, we're right here at Pigeon Forge.
Yep.
And we're up here at the 2022 Grand Design Owners RV Rally.
Yes! Yay!
Yeah, this is a Tennessee.
It's the Tennessee Owners Rally.
Yeah, Tennessee.
Yeah.
This is our first ever Grand Design Rally.
Yep.
We felt like it was something kind of unique. I don't know if other manufacturers do this or not, but I had never heard of it. They may do. If they do, let me know down in the comments because I'm curious to know.
Yeah.
But like I say, we own a Grand Design. We have our little Imagine that we got a few years ago, and we absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And when we was down at Fort Wilderness in Disney, one of the Grand Design ambassadors actually left us a little lantern while we was in the parks one day and left us a little note.
Yep.
And we reached out and connected with him, and you know, he was telling us about all the different rallies that they do. Turns out we normally camp up here anyways.
And that's why we're here. Yeah. Thanks, Phil Devereaux.
Yeah. And so we came up here to check it out, and so that's where we're at. So we'll bring you little glimpses and stuff this weekend of what the rally is.
Yep,
you know, like always, we're not going to show you everything because we want you to attend one.
Yeah.
And if you do want to attend one, go to granddesign.com, and there's an owner's
Check
tab
out their
in there.
events page. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got an events page under there, under the owner's thing.
We'll actually find the actual address and we'll stick it down below.
Yeah, as always, I'll put it down in the comments so you can find it easy. But I think they said the last night there's like 30-something rallies planned for this year.
Yeah,
and
there's
so,
a lot.
Yeah, they're all across the United States, so you ain't got to come to Tennessee.
Right.
But if you are around this area and they do this again next year, we'd love to see you here because we'll probably come back.
We will, definitely.
But they've got some interesting things they're going to have. They got their RV techs here, so if you had any major problems, they can help try to fix it while you're here. They're doing recalls while they're here.
Well, and there's lots of vendors here that have lots of really cool RV products, and there's some really good rally discounts.
Yep. And what's really cool is Lazy Days. I think they're out of Knoxville up here. I think we visited them before when we was looking at RVs. They bought all these RVs here to show, and so we can't wait till they open these up here in a little while, and we're going to check some of these new models out.
Definitely.
And by the way, the part down here, they just about sold it out. They have 180-something Grand Design.
I think there's 186 Grand Designs here. The people who are here have 10 different types of floor plans for the Grand Design RVs, so there's a lot of variety.
All the different models and everything, so it's really cool.
And the people are awesome.
Yeah, and it's really cool to get to hang out with like-minded people, you know. That's the first time we've ever experienced sitting out by the fire pit last night, and I mean, there's literally hundreds of fellow owners around talking, comparing notes. Actually, we met a couple yesterday. We was comparing notes about sway issues, and he's kind of having the same issues that I am. But even though he has a slightly different model and a different truck, and so, you know, I was wondering if maybe my truck was underrated or something like that, even though we pulled a bigger camper before and didn't have problems. So it's nice to be able to bounce ideas and problems off other people to try to help you here. So
well, and there's lots of fur babies here. I know you guys saw we brought Laramie, and there are tons of other pets here. Very pet friendly, so don't let that keep you from coming.
Yeah, and they're feeding us tons of food. They fed us dinner last night when we got here.
We're
going for breakfast, and they're going to feed us again Saturday too. So really neat. And so if you ever get a chance, check one of these out. We'll show you some clips, like I say, of the different clinics and some of the different things going on, just so you can kind of get a general idea. And then, like I say, check it out.
For sure.
Here's the Grand Design RV techs where they're parking overnight, so you can see they got both their full rigs. They've got welders on the back of the trucks and everything, so they can pretty much take care of anything, any kind of emergency you have while you're here, which is really neat. It's got babies.
guys have solitudes and momentums, and you have the valves in the front, right? So you have. Did you guys even know you had valves in the front? So in here you actually have shutoff valves for your hydraulics, for your hydraulic rooms, to where if you pull into a Walmart, you can actually shut off your rooms.
You guys always come up to us and asking, like, what are we doing these days? And we want to give you guys a little bit of a backstory. Maybe some of the sides you don't usually hear on the YouTube that we talk about.
The reason we got into RVing in the first place is when we started travel nursing, we needed to figure out how we were going to travel the country and how we were going to live. Did we buy an RV because of our cat? It's debatable. So we bought our first Grand Design RV back in 2017.
So, and that's why we do wheel position weighing, is so that we can know, like I told you, we can be able to tell what each tire weighs, and it will give you a more accurate reading for our kind of.
Bet you are the only one to see what's really pulling every string. Here's to starting over.
All right, everybody, we have had one action-packed weekend.
Oh, it's been awesome.
I'm telling you, this, we was talking earlier right before we went on camera here, and, you know, she said it best. This was almost a life-altering weekend.
Yes, it really was.
It has given us so many things to think about and to consider.
And so many different perspectives on things we already knew. It's just been amazing. I can't express it.
There was 186 or 187 Grand Design rigs there this weekend.
Yeah.
They fed us meals. They fed us 2 breakfasts, 2 suppers. Snacks. We had, you know, fire pit every night with just
music.
Hundreds of people around, live music every night. So much to do. We got to meet so many people that we would never meet.
Right.
I mean, it just changed our whole campground experience. I mean, anybody that's watched our videos for a while, you know, generally when we go RVing, we go for the destination. So we go set up at a campsite, yes, but we typically go see the things around it. Like when we go to Gatlinburg, we go to see Anarchista, we go to Roaring Fork, and we got videos on all that. We never left the park this time, guys.
We stayed in the campground the whole weekend.
They had tech classes, they had vendors up there, you know, doing classes and demonstrations and teaching us stuff. And I mean, man, we learned so much. We actually had to finally got our truck and our trailer weighed, and they did it rather than like a cat scale where they kind of put you on there and it's split, you know, it'll weigh your truck and your trailer, but these people weighed it with on each wheel.
Yes.
And so it really even tells you your balance. So not only does it tell you your overall weight of your truck, but it tells you what's on each wheel.
Yes, it was very enlightening.
We found out that, you know, we are overweight. You know, we kind of had that sneaky suspicion for a while now.
We did.
But it confirmed it. Now we're not terribly bad.
Yeah,
we're about 475 pounds, which again, it's overweight. But you know, we know there's people that's worse than us. But you know, it really shed some light on some things.
Yes.
We got to see there was several other YouTubers there this weekend that got to tell about their YouTube experience, how they got into camping, how they got involved with Grand Design.
Yes.
And man, that was just, it was amazing.
We had the best time. The first couple we talked to was One Strange Adventure. Oh my gosh, they were awesome. Wealth of knowledge. They hooked us up with some information on some other places to camp.
Yes.
We talked with Happily Ever Hanks. They were amazing. They're so funny.
They're so funny.
So youthful and just, it's exciting just to be in their presence.
Yeah, somebody being that young, it's amazing to see their perspective on not only life, but I mean, they full-time RV, you know, and that's something that we've I don't know that we'll ever full-time RV, but we want to go for months at a time.
Yes.
And so it was amazing to see, you know, how do they juggle work and travel and, you know, YouTubing, and it was refreshing.
It is. And gosh, we talked to Why Wait. They were amazing. They travel full-time with their son. And then, oh my goodness, who else was there? There was the Campoholics.
Did you mention Happily Ever Hangs?
We did, yep. We talked about Happily Ever Hangs. I mean, there's just so many. We'll list them all below. They were awesome, and like I said again, just a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, and if you like I say, if you're out there looking for, because we watch many other YouTubers out there that's full-time RVing, part-time RVing, you know, you just get a wealth of knowledge. And so, like she said, well, I'll put all that down in the comments. I'll link you to their YouTube pages.
Check out their pages.
Definitely go check out their pages because they're wonderful. And you know, it was just awesome.
Yeah, we had a great time.
And like I say, man, the service techs, they had the service response team there. And what you do when you sign up for this rally, you put in the I guess the VIN or serial number of your camper.
Yeah, you give them your model and your VIN.
And so they run it to see if there's any recalls, and then if you're having any issues, you list those. Yeah. And you even get to put in like a wish list of things that, you know, if they have time, you know, I wish we could get this done. Well,
and obviously they rank those repairs in order of need. So obviously safety issues are going to be handled first, and then that comes down to the more, you know, menial things that need to be done. And they were finishing up the list this morning as we pulled out.
Yeah, they actually stayed over. They were supposed to wrap everything up yesterday. When we had dinner last night, they announced that they did get all the safety recalls done. We actually had one that we hadn't had done yet that came out after we took ours in for the gas regulator.
Right.
They announced that they had everything done. There was only 5 campers that had...
They called them blue flags.
Yeah.
So they were things that needed to be done, but they were not a safety concern.
Right. And so that was the only thing they didn't have done last night. And
so they made the executive decision, rather than wrap it up and leave those things undone, they stayed over and finished everybody up this morning.
Yeah, they stayed over. They were supposed to have left last night to get back home because they traveled a great distance to be here. And what that service response team does, what we learned, is they actually go out to dealers that need help. If they're short on technicians, or if they've got a serious issue that they can't resolve or they can't figure out, they send out these service response teams. These service response teams will also, we found out, will actually go to, you know, if you're broke down the side of the road and a dealer can't get to you, a dealer can't help you, and they're within a reasonable distance, they'll actually even come help do that. And so it's some amazing people on these teams. And they even told a story there last night where they was, term we learned, an SOB, and I'm not cussing.
No, that means some other brand.
Yeah, was actually broke down. They actually sheared their wheel off their axle.
Yes.
Was out on the road. Their local dealer didn't have the parts, couldn't get the parts.
Right.
It just so happened the service response team had the parts on the trailer.
Yeah.
They stopped and helped these people, got them back on the road.
Grand Design service techs repaired their RV, got them back on the road.
Yeah, even though it's a different brand, and they didn't charge them a penny.
Yeah.
You know, when these people come out, it's paid for. You don't owe them a bill, and so that, I just think that's amazing.
Yeah, it's such an awesome community.
But we got to talk to so many other campers. The meals was amazing, and you know, you just get to bounce ideas off other people. You know, we had always pretty much ruled out fifth wheels. I was intimidated by it. I've never pulled a fifth wheel. They're huge. You got to have a bigger truck. But man, after talking to some of these other people that had just recently upgraded to their fifth wheel, man, it's I mean, like I say, it's really got us thinking about some things.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
And so, you know, I think it will change the way we camp in the future.
Definitely.
You know, generally we don't spend very much time in the campgrounds, and now it really makes us want to get out and meet our neighbors more.
Definitely.
And meet other Grand Design owners. We want to meet other campers, you know, because there's just a wealth of information there. I mean, our neighbors next to us, I talked to one of our neighbors for 30, 45 minutes one evening, and I mean, he was just a wealth of information about other campgrounds, places to go see. And you know, again, I talked to him about his fifth wheel. It was his first fifth wheel that he'd owned, and he said he would never go back to a bumper pull again, you know. And so gave us a lot to think about. You know, I'll pop up a few clips of some of the classes we went to, some of the where some of the YouTubers were speaking. You know, it was kind of sporadic because we was going so much. I didn't always have the correct lens with me,
Right.
so some of them may be dark, some of them may be far away. But again, you know, it was just an amazing weekend. I want to share some of those little snippets with you. I encourage you, if you are a Grand Design owner, get on their website, find out if there's a rally near you somewhere, and go to it, because it will
was
change
awesome.
the way you think about camping.
Well, and even if you have kids, there were a lot of the campers that were there this weekend that did have kids and grandkids that were traveling with them. The wagon masters of this rally had put together activities for the children. Children had arts and crafts time.
They had pizza night.
Yeah, they had a pizza party where they had music and pizza that was brought in for everybody. Some of the other mothers, grandmothers, parents, grandparents of the kids that were there would host time in their campsite for other kids to come and play. And so there were some great friendships that were created among the children that were at this rally as well, not just the adults.
Yeah, we had people come hang out with us last night, sit in our chairs with us for, gosh, I don't know how long it was, hours.
Hours,
I'm sure.
yeah. It felt like it had to have at least been an hour to 2 hours.
And I mean, we made friendships for life.
Yeah.
And so, you know, even our neighbors next door, you know, they're talking about the next rally they're going to, and was asking us, you know, we're going to be there. You know, people want to meet up again. And so we definitely plan on doing this rally again next year.
Yes.
And so, you know, if you have a chance, you know, and you're anywhere near the Tennessee area, this one was, you know, up in Sevierville, near Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg area.
Yeah.
They're trying to shoot probably first, second weekend of May next year again.
Yeah.
And
registration usually opens up in January for this one, and you will need to be on the ball if you want to camp in the campground where they host it,
because it does sell out.
But even though they sold out this year, they did offer I think they called them a day pass, where you could stay in another campground and just come in for the day and visit with the Grand Design campers in the campground, and
see
you
the
still
seminars
you
and
still
all
got
that.
to participate in everything. You still got your goodie bag and all of your benefits. You just weren't actually in the campground with us.
And some people got lucky that, you know, that had signed up and it was already sold out. And then, you know, we saw one camper, you know, they had some trouble with the camper, couldn't make it up there, and so they'll go down the list. Yeah, and so some of them, you know, even though 2 weeks ago they didn't think they was going to get to come, then they got to come. So and so, like I say, we hope we show you a little bit about this, and it makes you kind of want to come to one of these rallies. And like I say, man, it was amazing. It was an amazing
awesome
weekend, and.
Well, and I'll just give a shout out. The wagon master for this year was Leon and Crystal Spencer. They knocked it out of the park. They were amazing.
Yes, and speaking of that, they raised a lot of money for charity while we was there. What was it? The Tennessee donor.
They were raising money for organ donation.
Yes.
And we'll have to put the link below to the actual charity, but I mean, it was amazing, and they raised thousands of dollars this weekend for organ donation and other charities.
Yeah, and there was a couple other charities that they did. They'll be presenting all those checks to those organizations the first part of this week. I think they've got arrangements to do that very soon in the next few days. And so it's amazing. And even some of the prizes, they gave away tons and tons of prizes.
Tons of prizes.
They had drawings every night for prizes. We even gave away one of our sling chairs as one of the prizes. I mean, we were so glad to be involved with it. And there was some very touching stories there. I did get the story of one. I don't know how good the video is yet, but if it's at all possible, I'm going to make sure I add it in on this. A very touching story that'll, you know, probably change your mind about organ donation.
It'll bring you to tears.
And so, so anyways, that's it for this guys week. For this week, guys. We hope we showed you enough to get you interested in it, and you know, come out and join us sometime. We'd love to see you there.
Yeah. See you next time, guys.
Thank you for having me this morning, and Crystal and Leon, and sharing a little bit about what I get to do every day. A perfect theme this morning is superheroes. And everybody's got their superhero shirt on, and I can tell you the job that I've gotten to do the last 23 years, you see superheroes every day. There's days it may be one of the toughest jobs in the world, but man, there's days it's incredible too. Couple, just like Crystal, I was a PE teacher in a high school, you know, a coach, but the man upstairs had a different plan. And the plan he had for me was to help people that are waiting for a second chance at life. This morning, 113,000 people woke up hoping today would be the day they get a call that says, you're not going to die. Somebody on their worst day said yes to organ donation and will save your life. So, just a little bit about what we do. Every kind of state has what's called an organ procurement office. I work for the one in Tennessee. I've been here almost 23 years. We every day do everything the organ donation entails. We talk to the family, we go to the OR, we do the recovery, we do the transplant, we do all the follow-up with the family. And it's been an incredible way to see that, you know, happen every day. But just share a couple of quick stories and I'll share my story. When I first came to TDS, we had probably 50 employees statewide. Now we have almost 500. And we went on every case. I can remember back then they gave us not only a phone, but a pager. And kids don't know what pagers are. So my pager went off and my boss and I went to UT Hospital. And again, I was a PE teacher, not a nurse, not a doctor. And so we walked in to this tiny little ICU room, and in that room was Patty Zuber. And Patty was 22 years old. She was from Michigan, and her and her fiance had actually came to Gatlinburg on vacation. And one afternoon, it was raining, they had a car accident. Patty did not have her seatbelt on, and she went through the windshield. So she had been at UT Hospital for 3 days, and on the 3rd day, she was pronounced brain dead. And my boss and I walked into that little room and saw Patty, and she looked at her labs, and she was talking to the bedside nurse and to the attending physician, and like, hey, you know, we did brain dead testing this morning, and Patty's brain dead. So we walked into this other little quiet room where her mom and dad were in there, and I remember Susie walked up to her and said, my name is Susie Cross, this is Billy Jarvis. I'm so sorry we have to meet you under these circumstances. Yes. Okay, can you hear me better now? So, and the next thing she said is, tell me a little bit about Patty. And her mom and dad began telling us that Patty was the youngest of 10 brothers and sisters, that her family owned a Christmas tree farm in Michigan, and she had just graduated nursing school. And my boss said, have you ever considered organ donation? And they pulled Patty's driver's license out, and they said when Patty turned 16, she made that decision that she would want to help as many people as she can. So we told her for the next 24 hours, we will do testing and we will save as many lives as we can. And as we're walking out of that little quiet room at UT Hospital, her father stopped us and said, I don't know if it's important or not, but I'm waiting for a heart transplant as well. And my boss looked at him and said, if that's the case, you can have Patty's heart. And he looked at us and said, there's no way, no how. He's like, I can't imagine every time my heart beats, I think of Patty. And he turned it down. So during that time, back then they faxed us the waiting list. And we made not thousands, but hundreds of phone calls to place 4 or 5 organs. And during that time, several of the Zuber's kids had came from Michigan to be with their mother and father. And lo and behold, it happened to be Mr. Zuber's birthday. And in the mail, the kids had brought home with an unopened birthday card from Patty. And Mr. Zuber opened it up, and it said verbatim, for your birthday, Dad, I hope you get a new heart. So they talked about it as a family. And like, hey, Patty would want you to have her heart, Dad. She would want you to live. So he called us back, and he said, hey, have you placed the heart yet? And we said no. And he's like, well, we talked as a family, and I think I want to take it. So We told him we would do everything we can to make that happen. Now, we ran into two big issues. One, they could have been different blood types, but luckily they were the same. But the biggest issue was this. Patty was probably 5'3", 135 pounds soaking wet, and Mr. Zuber was 6'1", 210. Was the heart going to be big enough to sustain his life? So our transplant surgeon talked to his transplant surgeon. Like, hey, she's young, heart's athletic, let's just give it a shot. So we put Chet Zuber on a helicopter with his daughter's heart in a cooler right beside him, and they flew to Michigan. That was 23 years ago. Chet Zuber's still alive today. It's the only time in history that a parent has ever received a heart from their child. Okay? And that was my first week at work. How's that not taking it? So, those are the type of superheroes we see every day. Now, how in the world does a high school PE teacher go from doing that job to this job? Well, I am one of 9 recipients in my immediate family. I grew up my entire life with people on the waiting list. My mother, her brother, her sisters, and most of them died early. Transplants just was different then. So I went off to college my freshman year to play ball at UT, baseball, and one afternoon I came back and my ankles were just swollen huge. And went to our team doctor and trainer, and my blood pressure was high. Went to the hospital at UT, they ran a bunch of tests, and lo and behold, my doctor's like, Billy, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is, you're young, you're healthy, but you've got the same disease your parents had, your mom has. And there's no cure for it. They'll probably hit you in your late 20s, right? So I didn't even tell my parents. So I go back to school, he's like, go be a kid, go play ball, do everybody you're doing. So lo and behold, about 6 months later, man, I'm sick as a dog. I'm throwing up every day. I'm tired, I'm lethargic. So my mom and dad come up for the weekend for school, and my mom's like, you look awful, what's going on with you? So I finally have to tell them. So we go to the hospital at UT, and my kidneys only work about 4%. So luckily for my dad and I were the same blood type, and he was going to give me one of his. And unfortunately, it failed. They tried to do the transplant, one of the arteries clotted off, it didn't work, and I had to take it out. So I started dialysis, like Crystal did as a 19-year-old kid. I do that every other day for 4 hours, and that's just part of my life. But my biggest issue was, for dialysis, you have like a graft. My graft or fistula was just getting huge. It was enlarging my heart. So 2 years after dialysis, I weighed about 120 pounds. My heart was triple the size it should be, and I was dying. And I remember thinking one night, man, I'm going to die at 21 years old. And I knew for me to live, somebody else had to die, and that was tough. So I remember thinking, I came back, I played a softball game in a tournament one afternoon, a Saturday, and me and my brother were in my room, and I'm like, man, it's just, I'm never going to be the same again. But about 1 o'clock in the morning, my phone rang, and the dialysis coordinator said, this is Alan. His name was Alan. He's like, hey, we have a brand new kidney for you. It's like a twin brother. And I drove to Birmingham with my family. I got the transplant that morning, December the 6th, 1991. I stayed in the hospital 45 days. It worked perfect. My donor was a 17-year-old kid. He was had caught in a car accident. And man, it just changed my life. And I went back to school and I was in college. I remember thinking, how can I possibly repay this kid that I don't know, that I've never met, on his worst day, saving a 19-year-old kid in Tennessee? And I started doing some volunteer work for Tennessee Donor Services, and they said, why don't you come work for us? So while I was in college, I was actually doing my student teaching, and I thought, man, that'll be a great career to be a teacher and coach like my father. But I met a blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl that was in nursing school. And I thought, yes. And I thought if I could swing a nurse, that'd be pretty incredible. So Rebecca and I have been married for 26 years. She's been a transplant dialysis nurse her entire time as well. I have 2 kids, one 25, one 22. I was told I would never have children of my own, But lo and behold, God had a different plan for that too. I remember thinking at 19 that all of my hopes and dreams were over. I would never do the things I wanted to do, but a young man I've never met gave me a chance to do that. I had my transplant 31 years. That's a long, long time. I think, thank you. I think back to the decision I made to share my donor's story, and I was telling Crystal, I probably shared his story and his memory to probably hundreds of thousands of people over the last 25 years. He died that day, but his legacy lived on through a kid in Tennessee that tried to do the best he can to keep his memory alive. And the most precious gift you can give somebody is the gift of life. And I hope I've made him proud and honored that gift. And that's the thing I get to see every day. You see a lot of bad in this world. You see it on TV every day. We're inundated by it, but I tell you, there's a lot of good too. That families on their worst day give to others that they've never met. And it's just an incredible, incredible thing to see that every day. And it's people just like you, it's just like me, that live this story and don't have that. And it's just, Rebecca and I have been both blessed to be a part of something that it was my way to give back. And I will continue to do that as long as I live. So thank you very much for having me this morning. And thank you for all of you.